Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Felt. I'm the manager of Empower Women here at UN Women. I'm very pleased to introduce to you today a very exciting webinar on Parentsmart employers. Maybe I can give you a little bit of a background to how we have invited Tiina to join us today on this topic. For those who are Empower Women members already, you know that we've been working a lot on the unpaid care work agenda, and every day we are innovating in this space. We have the framework of unpaid care work and on the three pillars, recognize, reduce, and redistribute. And there's a lot of focus on reduction of unpaid care work in terms of building out the infrastructure, helping with household work, community work, and fetching water and firewood, particularly in developing countries. We've been also discussing a lot on the redistribution and how women should not be the sole providers of this care work, but that it should be redistributed not only to men, but also within societies and employers taking up more responsibility. Today, this presentation focuses a lot on recognizing the care work itself and how important it is in promoting good employees within the workplace. And we're very excited to have Tiina Bruno with us today. It also aligns very much to the work that we are doing on women's empowerment principles, where we are driving 7 principles on gender equality and women's empowerment within the corporate sector, both at the workplace, in the marketplace, as well as in the community. And this is also part of a campaign that we've been having with Empower Women for the past 6 months. I Am Parent campaign. So we are very excited to have with us today Tiina Bruno from Sweden to talk a little bit about the concept that she has developed around the Parentsmart employers. But first of all, before we go into the discussion, we have a few polls, and we'd like to test the first poll with you. If you could please respond to the first question. We want to make sure that everybody can use the poll. So the first question is very simple. We'd just like to know in what region you are. So we know also where, in what region does this interest fall primarily at this point, and where we can bring the concept further. So thank you so much. I can see that you have already started to respond to the poll, and we encourage you, all of you, to do so. I will give it a few more seconds. We have 86% completion. And I will close it in a few seconds. So interesting, we have the participant in the webinar today, 86% voted, from Americas and the Caribbean, 50%, and Europe and Central Asia, 50%. This is very interesting, and I think that we will take this concept further into Middle East, North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. And hopefully we could do maybe another webinar, Tiina, for those, specifically for those regions, and maybe also in different languages. We have a second poll that we'd like also to check with you. What made you decide to participate in this webinar? Is it a particular interest in the topic? Is it because it's organized by us at UN Women Empower Women that you know about the webinar? Was it a guest speaker specifically that drew your attention? Is it as a result of our social media promotion or anything else? Please vote now. Excellent. Thank you so much. There seemed to be an interest in the topic and, of course, in our guest speakers, so I'm very pleased to hear that. I think we will move on. Yes. So for those who are interested in the topic and might not know much about it, Tiina has had recently a blog on Empower Women, and of course we encourage you to read it if you haven't already done so. Can we go to the next slide? So let me introduce you to Tiina, and also we will have about 20 minutes, half an hour for questions and answers afterwards. So we are very excited to have Tiina with us. She's a mother of 3 and she has developed her concept out of this experience. She's an economist and management consultant. And she is the author of Parentsmart Handbook for managers and employees. And she's often referred to as a thought leader, norm breaker, and this is a very interesting concept, and we're very excited to hear about this concept today. She's been participating in many different conferences around the world, and I think I would not speak anymore, but Tiina, leave it up to you to take your presentation forward. And shall we do one more poll before we get started? Tiina?
Yes, yes, please.
So let's do the third one. We'd like to know before the presentation on what is your perception in your workplace. Do you see parenthood in the workplace as an asset and a value, or a burden and a cost? We have about 30% voting, and we actually have very good news with asset and value so far, but we'd like to hear from all of our attendees. Great. Unfortunately, only 50% voted, but I think this is great news, Tiina.
Yes.
And I'd like you to launch your presentation and we can get started. We are very excited to hear about the Parentsmart Employers concept.
Before I launch this first slide, Anna, a few words, okay? Thank you a lot, Anna, and Empower Women and you women for inviting me to keep this webinar. I must say that I'm so happy to reach out to you all in different parts of the world, since the idea I will talk about, I believe, is universal. I will spend some time with you on the topic of supporting and combining work with parenthood, and especially regarding attitudes. And I will not cover it all here today, but hopefully give you a new perspective and kick off some thoughts like, aha, I hadn't thought about it in this way before. I want to increase the exchange of experience between countries too, because I believe in the strength of concrete local examples and stories to change local attitudes. So I am very curious about the thoughts and examples that you may think of when you hear this webinar, and we'll talk about it a bit during the Q&A. So yes, please, my first slide. You can help me share. Okay, tell me when you see it.
Yes.
All right. I want to start with a story, since role models are key in the concept I'm going to talk about to develop norms and attitudes around work and parenthood. And here you see Yvette Lindqvist, who is mother of two. She was quoted when having small kids working as head of group at AstraZeneca in Sweden. When I met her at the time, she told me this story. At home, with a full house, preschool, school, friends, homework, activities, birthdays, cleaning, laundry and bills, all in a mess, I cannot do everything 100%. I have to prioritize and compromise, but things still turn out really well. At least they are good enough. This has given me the confidence to do the same at work. The result is that I have time to deliver more, and others are still pleased. So, with this, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I do what I do. I'm a mother of three. When I started the initiative, my kids were rather small, like this. Now Tira is 15 and Victor is 13, Elliot is 11. My husband just turned 50. I'm a mother of three. People call me thought leader, norm breaker, as you said, Hannah. I'm a management consultant, executive coach, and a lecturer in Sweden and abroad, and founder of this concept, Parentsmart Employers, and the certification. As you see, I put motherhood in the top of my CV. That is because it has developed so much competence and skills useful in my work. My children have, for example, trained me to be more open-minded and interested in different perspectives, to be more creative, efficient, and patient, skills that are extremely important and useful in my work. I'm an economist with a big passion for topics like inclusive leadership and parenthood and career, work-life balance strategies in companies, and gender equality in both business and society. So with the concept Parentsmart Employers, I want to add an important perspective that can create rings on the water within these areas in different ways. We live in Sweden, a country with a lot of water, a lot of snow, and a lot of male nannies. Tourists ask us sometimes, but of course they are not. We have a lot of mothers and fathers and parental leave here in Sweden. So how is this possible? We have a parental law since 1974 for both fathers and mothers, and a well-developed childcare system. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a while, but I would like to start with the main message of this webinar, which is an insight that made me passionate about developing and spreading an idea that I think is relevant for all employers, managers, and employees out there, and not only to parents. A couple of years ago, in my work with modern leadership trainings, etc., discussing skills needed in successful companies like delegation and communication, empathy, humility, creativity, and team building, I started thinking about the persons I met that felt that they lagged behind in their career when they became parents, and that the attractive leader competences we discussed actually are trained and developed in parenthood, together with a whole lot of other skills useful at work. If there is a connection, we should start talking about parenthood as one of the best management courses you can get. And if that is so, employers should start looking at the return on investment in employed parents, since many employers invest in support in different ways, huge costs for them. They should start looking at the return on investment like any other investment developing employees, and in that case also connect to vision and goals and strategies and economy. So I became curious to know more about this, about the connection, and some years ago I made research among 100 managers and employees with children here in Sweden to gather concrete examples and stories about parenthood connections to skills needed at work. I very quickly got many amazing quotes and stories back, and Actually, most of the people writing back to me also thanked me for posing the question, since this is not a new fact, but something that we don't very often think about, where a huge amount of the competence in a company actually is developed. So I quickly got many amazing stories and decided to spread them in a book to inspire others and ask them to add more examples. And the challenges of combining work with parenthood have more to do with attitudes and practical support. So Swedish stories can inspire, but only local examples can really change local attitudes. That's why I decided to gather and spread role model examples from different countries and also start lecturing and starting dialogues outside Sweden. This is nothing new, I'll say that again. I mean, parents have in all times used their parental skills at work. But not many employees and managers think about where this huge amount of competence is developed. And it makes a difference to start thinking about it and show that you know it. So just to show you more about what I'm talking about and more stories, we have here another role model story from a company called Telge. This is actually, this was my first Parentsmart customer, a value-driven company in Sweden with top managers really getting the point quickly, one of the keys. And that was one of the reasons I decided to use them as a case also in the book I wrote. Telge is a group with 10 companies in Sweden, 800 persons, and they wanted to attract and keep young talents. They wanted to get more paternity leaves and promote more women leaders and get more women into the company. They had many retirements and so on. Here's a story of their CEO, Stefan Holmark, who is a father and has been working in the company for a long time. Becoming a parent is a natural part of life, as is being on parental leave. We have hired pregnant women on several occasions. When we recruit someone, our main goal is to hire the one that will perform the most in the long run. Viewing children and pregnancies as something negative feels strange. Being a parent is positive and brings about personal growth. As a parent, one develops several different skills that, if used in the right way, can improve the company's results and goal achievements. And then we have a father and manager in the same company. It's Joachim Ströberg, who is father of 3 and was on paternity leave several times when he was working as a marketing manager at Telge. He said like this in this company: I felt strengthened in my decision to take parental leave, and I feel a strong loyalty towards a company that not only accepts that, but also is proactive in the matter. During my paternity leave, I discovered a number of links between parenthood and leadership, things that I hadn't thought of. I will use the mindset in my leadership forward to motivate, keep, and develop my employees using all their competence. So, what happened then in this company? There are many efforts to try to measure the impacts of becoming a more parent-smart employer, but we need more time to follow different paths that are caused by this. But the things that could be seen rather quickly was, first of all, it's a rather new thing also in Sweden to be a parent-smart company, so they got a lot of PR for that, to showing the parenthood value at work. They also perceived that it was easier for their employees to go back to work after parental leave, with increased self-esteem, more efficiency, and the awareness of new skills to use at work. They also perceived it as an activity to be a more inclusive and equal company, working with gender equality in different ways. And they saw that their employer brand became very much stronger, and a stronger commitment and loyalty towards the employer. So, what's in it for you as a parent? I don't know really who you are listening to this, and it's very exciting actually, because as I insist on that this topic and mindset is a value for everybody, no matter if you're a woman or man, manager, employee, or have kids or not. It's great actually not to know who is listening, because It's a value for both individuals, employers, managers, and society. So let me take the benefits one at a time. For individuals, you could say that the value of becoming Parentsmart and find what's in it for you. Let's see. Is a higher and better self-knowledge. Knowledge and feeling about the competence development that's going on, that it is a leadership development. A pride, to be proud of combining work and parenthood, and be proud when you go into the manager telling that you are pregnant, asking for a parental leave, both as a mother and a father. And a higher self-esteem, connected to living a whole life, not having to choose between work and family, and also to have better health and share responsibilities at home. But nothing will happen with parent insights, individual insights, if the closest manager and the employer doesn't get the point. So what's in it for all you managers and employers out there then? To be successful and reach company vision and goals, as most organizations and companies want to, becoming more parent-smart can have a strong impact and help you becoming a more attractive employer, attracting, developing, and keeping your employees, connected to work with employee branding, talent management in the company. It's about using all competence, which is, of course, a matter of sustainability, social sustainability, innovation, and diversity and inclusion. It's a way of working with leadership development, modern leadership, and new tools, work-life balancing tools, and so on. It's increasing gender equality, and in these ways we could think of are like more women back after kids, easier to go back to work when you have become a mother and father, more women leaders, more paternity leaves, and in the long run, hopefully also diminished salary gaps. As I said, it's not easy to measure, but I'm an economist and I really want to show concrete figures after a while. And I'm developing a Parentsmart Employer Index here in Sweden together with researchers at the Swedish School of Commerce and the university here. But cost cuts connected to recruitments and sick leaves and so on should be possible to follow after a while. Furthermore, companies and organizations becoming more parent-smart can have a strong social impact also and develop societies. It is important to focus on the local why. I've been traveling around to different countries, and it's so important to be aware, of course, of the fact that circumstances may be very different, but also to see which common denominators we have and which impact they can have. So there are differences in society and in civil society concerning history, politics, legislation. In civil society, concerning families, culture, tradition, and norms. And Parentsmart Employer can add a lot to those societies, becoming a more sustainable and gender equal company and organization, adding to more sustainable and gender equal societies, which is something very important, of course, to start using all competence in the society and increase birth rates and so on. They also add to more sustainable and gender equal families and what we can call the human right to live a whole life with both family and job without having to choose. So to summarize again, I call it the Parentsmart norm leverage. A Parentsmart individual may be both a parent and a non-parent, a manager or employee, realizing the parenthood value at work and why it's worth investing in it. These individuals have a strong impact on the development of more Parentsmart workplaces and societies. So the Parentsmart mindset can be a strong tool for development of both attractive employers and important social norms. And to tell you a little bit more about the circumstances in Sweden, we've had, as I told you before, To avoid discrimination connected to parenthood and facilitate the combination of work and family, we've had a parental leave law since 1974 for both parents. It's today 480 days to be split between the parents, but 3 of the months are only for the father to be taken. 80% of salary is paid during this time to a maximal level, and you have the legal right to keep your job during your leave. We also have a discrimination law with a request for an equality plan if you have more than 25 employees, a salary survey each year, and the employee needs to help in the combination of work and family. We have a childcare system which is tax paid and rather well developed, which is of course one of the clues and keys for everything to be possible. But very much can be done also without this. So what can you do becoming more parent smart? As a manager or employee, you should start looking at the concrete examples everywhere around you and discuss them with each other. Gather parents on parental leave, for example. For employers, it's mainly about not forgetting this, and also to start seeing it as formal and informal tools to support employed parents. The formal tools are about giving practical help to combine work and family life. That is a lot about things concerning time and money, routines, and IT. For example, meeting disciplines, not before 9, not after 3, distance working, flexible working hours, extra salary compensation during parental leave, part-time employment, and so on. The informal tools are the ones that are more about showing what you get back. The company and organization value and return on investment with parenthood. That is more about attitudes and behaviors and leadership and role models. Like company manager contacts and interest during a parental leave, discussions about the economic and company benefits with parenthood and parental leaves, leader attitudes, and most of all what I've been talking about already, to find and show leader role models to spread. When I talk about this in different countries where circumstances are very, very different from each other, I say that both are important, of course, but actually it's best to start on the right-hand side, to start looking at the why. What's in it for us? What is the benefit for us supporting employed parents? And then find the arguments for investing in formal support, because it's on the left-hand side the investment and cost is the biggest. So do both. Involve all leaders in why. That is also key. Otherwise, nothing will happen. It's like running into a wall when you get back to work, as a parent on parental leave told me. And also try to connect the economy in some way. Because if you only do the left-hand side, giving practical help, it's like a woman who came to me after a seminar once, telling me one of her experiences. She said like this, I'm in a company investing in support to parents, and we have an excellent parent policy document saying that it is okay to go earlier to get kids at preschool. But when I need to leave earlier, I meet sighs and eyebrows from my managers. Then our policy is nothing worth. Their attitudes really give me bad conscience. We have several colleagues feeling very bad at work, considering leaving the company soon for a one where parenting is not seen as only a cost and a burden. So it makes a difference. And the steps to take after having thought about these matters and try to develop a kind of model which is possible to applicate and work with everywhere, the best and strongest tools to do and the steps to take are these. First, to initiate initial and internal dialogues, discussions with managers and employees in the company organization about the why. Why should we support employed parents? What's in it for us? Which connections can we see between parental skills and the competence we need? The second thing is to, during these dialogues, identify and spread role models, quotes, example stories, especially from high-level managers, to really show local examples of the attitudes you have around this matter. Parentsmart ambassadors are people who are aware of listening, big ears and big eyes, gathering those stories, spreading them internally and externally in different ways. And then have a Parentsmart employer policy with internal guidelines not only about practical support but also about the attitudes towards employed parents. And my wish is that companies all over the world, no matter where, start to become proud of having employed parents and supporting them in different ways and become certified, really spreading their examples and being very active role model employers. And that's where I'm heading for in different areas of the world right now with a kind of train the trainer setting, because I'm not going to be everywhere at the same time. This is also truth. The last slide I want to show you is that actually it's being a competence smart employer, manager and employee. It's about using all competence available and just opening our eyes to something that is, again, nothing new all around us and applicable not only to parents either. I sometimes get the question, but what about all those people who cannot get children? Isn't it discriminating towards them? And I said that no, they develop their skills in other ways, also outside work in many ways. But parents do not lag behind, and they are not only a cost and a burden in companies. We need to change this. It will have big leverage on other things. So finally, I'm curious about your questions, and I'm not going to talk longer now. There's a lot more to talk about and tell, but what I would like you to think about now is if there's anything that popped up in your mind, any connection between parenthood and your own work, or something that you try to do at your workplace. Because right now I'm trying to build a kind of global network of experiences on the Parentsmart Employers website with the address here. So I would really like to think about an own example or story and be part of this global network to try to create some kind of movement of these attitudes needed, because I really believe that they are the same actually everywhere if we just start to look at the connection. So, well, thank you very much, Anna. I think I will stop here. I can talk for hours, but I think this is enough. Thank you.
Tiina, thank you so much. I was actually speaking being muted.
Yeah, okay. You hear me now too.
I will do a recap. Thank you so much. This is a very exciting concept, and I hope that it will spread both within Sweden, of course, but also beyond. We have another poll question, but I wanted to ask you as well after the poll, not to bias anyone, the most useful parental skill that you are using in your work. And I'd like to first hear from our participants, and then we'd like to hear your point of view from what has been the most important for you. And I think the different skills might depend on your own family setup and the kind of work environment that you work in. But it would be interesting to hear from our audience on how being a parent is actually trickling into the competencies and skills that we need in the workplace.
Great.
So I'm curious also to hear what you have picked up from yourself.
And if people are not parents themselves, Anna, they can think of parental skills useful in their workplace, because everybody knows a parent or knows a child.
Very good point. Thank you. So for those who are not parents, I'm sure that you can envision from your relationship with children and other household members, what are the skills that are applicable in the workplace. We'll give it a little bit more time. It's interesting how it's shifting. I'm not sure, Tiina, if you can see it.
No, I can't yet.
No. Okay, we're going to close and see the results. Is this what you expected, Tiina?
I mean, team building, delegation, conflict solving, those things are often developed when the kids become a little bit bigger, play with teenagers and so on. So this might mean that the ones who answer and have kids might have small kids. But these are, of course, the ones, especially the first one that pops up. I recognize it.
Great. We're going to take questions. You can either raise your hand in the question, or you can just post the question in the comment box for the participants. But while we await the questions, actually we have a question here that we would be curious, because we know that you're working not only in Sweden, but also in Eastern Europe, and specifically in Belarus. And I know you were there, I think last week or the week before. It would be interesting to hear what is the reaction, both in Sweden, from the employers to this concept, and specifically, what is the reaction in other countries that might not yet have heard of this concept before?
I can say like this, when I started to lecture and be in panels at conferences abroad and so on, I often met people thinking that, well, you are so far in this area in Sweden, it will take us 40 years to come to the level of Sweden and so on, and it's only possible in Sweden. And I very early really decided that I didn't want it to feel like utopia, because the things I'm talking about, parental skills, useful at work, that is something that is possible, applicable everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. That's why it's important to start with that part. So when I meet this kind of skepticism, which I do, of course, meet in some countries where also the legislation is rather new within the area, I feel that it's so much easier to have discussions and dialogues, starting with this: what's in it for us as an employer? What's the gain for us? Which competence do parents develop? For example, in Japan, I can give that example, where they have a parental insurance, parental leave system, both for men and women, but only women use it mostly. It's not always enough for a Japanese man to say that it's a value for him as a father or for the child to take parental leave. But if the employer starts saying that it's a value for us as a company, they think that something might start happening there. So that's a concrete example of where attitudes is at that start. In Belarus and other Eastern countries I've been to, where the parental insurance system is rather new, they also want to have more fathers to take parental leave. And there it's very important to be humble and really curious about the win for them. What's in it for them in their circumstances in their country to start promoting this? I sometimes get reactions that, well, employees will only use it. They will only be home more and we will not be productive enough. So the discussions need to be connected to the wins that they can see locally. So last time in Belarus, the fourth time I was there actually, I had dialogues, discussions with the companies there, and it was so interesting to hear them find their own whys, the why we should do it. And they actually are going to start, some companies, to gather some parental leave and have discussions with managers. And I'm going to follow them and tell them to tell their stories locally to inspire others to do the same. So I meet a lot of skepticism, but a lot of curiosity, and also this feeling that it's possible everywhere. That's what I want to communicate.
Great, thank you so much. We have one question. I'm going to unmute Rudaba, who has raised a hand. So I'll welcome your question or comment, Rudaba.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Yes, hi, Tiina Bruno here from the IFC Gender Secretariat. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. We are so interested in this work and so happy to see that you are making progress in this area. I had a question regarding the certification you mentioned. How are you envisioning to roll that out? Have any companies been Parentsmart Employer certified? Are you envisioning third-party certification, or are you going to do these certifications yourself? And what kind of data you will be looking at in order to certify companies? So just everything about the certification bit. Thank you.
Okay. What I want to do is to have it two ways, actually, because I believe in that local consultants know their local circumstances best, actually, and so it's a train-the-trainer development locally, train-the-trainer setting for training in the Parentsmart Employer standards and then a certification. Either it can be done by training of a local consultancy firm making the trainings in local companies and certifying according to different criteria, standards, or a rollout in a global company where leaders internally are trained to roll out the dialogues, actually. So the things to roll out in the training is I want to have it as simple as possible and easy to spread the rings on the water and the leverage. So it is about dialogue workshops, making those discussions with employees and managers, identifying role models, and at the same time making a policy with practical and attitude support. So the setting is the same if it's a rollout in a global company to different countries or to local consultants making the trainings and certification. And you can read more on the parentsmartemployer.com website too about the standards and criteria and so on.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have do we have any other questions at this point? You can raise your hand or you can contribute in the chat box.
Anna, which country was she from who posed the question?
IFC. Washington, D.C. IFC.
Yes. Then I can add something while we wait for more questions about the U.S. development with the paid parental leave from companies and so on. I think there is high time to start looking at what the employer gets back for the investment too. So to start highlighting not only the support in paid parental leave, but also what you get back and start working towards becoming a Parentsmart employer is really something that will be high in time in the US, I think.
So Tiina, when I was in Indonesia a couple of weeks ago, and we were there to discuss the implementation of women's empowerment principles. And what was quite interesting was that the more educated about the concept of parent-smart companies and gender equality in the workplace were many of the men attending. The women were very open and frank about their challenges in actually recruiting women, because they said they would become pregnant, they would take leave, and then they would take off from work because they had to take care of the children. I mean, we were struggling a little bit with this, that this is actually coming from women themselves. Is this something that you see a difference between women and men's reaction to this, and that men might be more progressive about it because they also would like to take more leave and be home with their children? Or is it, what would your response to this have been in actually trying to manage the fact that we want more women into the workplace and not for them to be penalized by the fact that they are the ones that will be pregnant? And I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, because we were quite surprised to hear, but it was good to have this frank conversation, of course, to work through some of the resistance from women themselves.
I think one thought that I get when I listen to you is that first, of course, this is very different also between countries and the values and norms in each society. But what I've seen is that if highlighting role models, managers on high levels, no matter men or women, who talk about the competence development that parenthood has given them and how that is a value for the company in different ways, I think that sometimes it would be better almost not to talk about if it's a mother or a father, but really emphasize the competence development and try to promote, of course, more men to talk about it, since it has been seen in many big companies and countries that to have a first role model, a man maybe in a company taking paternity leave and talking about the benefits for the employer by the leave he takes, that has impact on more fathers too taking paternity leave, since it's like, and very, of course, many fathers want to take time with a child, but it's not socially accepted. So if a high-level manager is a role model doing that, it's more accepted, of course. So I don't know if it's answer to your question. But I think that we need to have both men and women showing the good examples of what they develop and the company value, and dare to talk about the benefits more.
Thank you so much. No, actually, that's some of the points that we made at the event itself. And I was also bringing up actually your concept of parent-smart employers and the fact that there is benefit to it, and it's not only a burden. So thank you so much.
It's about attracting and keeping talent, and that's interesting for all employers all over the world.
Yeah. So how do you, I don't know if you've thought about this, we have in March next year the Commission on the Status of Women that will be focusing on the changing world of work. With the changing world of work, it comes also this less secure workplaces where a lot will be outsourced, more people will be working from home, and with that is also less social protection. And I saw that one of your one of the guys at the beginning of your presentation, he talked about how important it is to build the long-term interest. I think it was
he promotes women, pregnant women.
That we want to build a workforce in the long run.
Yeah.
It was this Stefan Hallmark.
Yeah.
And so for certain companies that might be a good idea, that you want to build the workforce in the long run, but what is at the same time, it seems like more people are shifting employers more often. At the same time, you have the millennials that are asking for more flexibility and for more opportunities to work from home and more flexibility. So how do you see these trends in building the long run when people might actually be shifting more than they've done in the past? Maybe the Swedish context is different, or the sector is different, depending on AstraZeneca might be an area where you specialize so much that you will stay in the company for the next 30 years. But there might be sectors in technology, for example, where there's more shift and people are jumping around between company and company. Do you have any thoughts about this before we wrap up?
First, I think that long run will mean something else in the future than it did before. What I mean, long run might be much shorter, and but long enough not to lose too much economically in recruitment and training of employees, because there's a huge cost losing employees when they become parents. When you have recruited them, trained them, and so on, they're up and running, and many businesses lose employees during parental leave or the first years with small children. So the long run could be just to keep employees during those years, for example. And I think that for the younger generations, as you mentioned, they see it as obvious and a hygiene factor that you can combine work with family. It's nothing almost to compete with any longer. So employers must start to show that they not only support, but they also lift it as a value, the parenthood period for the employee. So I think that they anyway will stay during the years of small children, which is might be a couple of years, and if they have more parent-smart employer attitudes at work.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are actually a little bit over time. So I'm going to launch the last poll question. Are you a member of Empower Women? And I would like to take this opportunity, Tiina, to thank you so much for bringing your very innovative concept to us and to the audience. And I hope that this is just the beginning and that we will hear from our broader community on what their perceptions are of the skills that they have developed, and hear more stories on how we can bring this concept further and how we can make sure that all this being a parent and all the work that implies is being recognized and celebrated and also promoted within companies.
Yes, thank you so much, Anna, and Empower Women for this opportunity again. And I really would like all of you listening to start to think about yourself and others and write me. You find my email on the Parentsmart Employer site, but also a place where we can start to exchange experience more between countries to start this attitude movement, shouldn't we? Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we'll close the poll. And we hope that you will be in touch with all of us. And thank you so much for joining us.